performances. Good morning, Mr. Roberts.
Good morning to your team and good morning to the viewers.
Yes. SEA, how did our children do in your view this cycle?
Well, the work that you put in is what you should be expecting in terms of the results that comes out. We have had our challenges over the years. So the results is not surprising to me. We have some students did exceptionally well, but the majority of the persons, there is a large gap between those who did well and the average mark. A lot of persons were in that 40%, 50% area. And we had some scores I would have seen where some of the students weren't even able to get 10 marks in the mathematics or 10 marks in the language arts. Some did fairly well in the creative writing. But there's a big disparity between those who did exceptionally well and the rest of the bunch. So that's where the concern is.
Minister Gaspedal is trying not to identify the top scoring students, if that's what I could put that. Is the same thing applying here in Tobago, that we would not know who these top performers are?
Well, I heard that there was some commentary on it by those in administration, but I did not personally hear any commentary in terms of which student came first or which school top in Tobago. It's not something that I also look forward for because I focus on those who are not doing as they should. So that's where my focus would have been during the period since results came out.
Okay, and well, generally a small decline in SCA performance when we look at national. In terms of, after every SCA exam results season, we hear about the remedial works and some training sessions and during the summer or the July-August vacation and stuff. Are we to experience the same thing this time around? And what is your take? What is tutors' take with those sort of initiatives?
I believe the politics in Trinidad and Tobago is keeping us from progressing. So some things have to be done so that we can show that we're doing something. But we need sustainable things. You cannot wait until the July, August, where you have an 8-week period or a 7-week period where you're doing to train teachers and you're doing remedial work, and then we hope that that would be enough for the rest of the academic year to come. There is the conversation, and we must change the way we provide education to our children. We have heard about Tobago-centric curriculum for however long, and then nothing is happening. I'm hearing of committee to review stuff. Hey, a thematic approach is needed. I've been commenting on this ever since coming to the program, since I've been Tobago officer. We need to make the work more meaningful to our students. So to me, what the division is working on now, they're going too deep, which would result in some radical changes, which it's not practical. There's one common examination, that unless Tobago is going to set their own examination, I don't know where they're going with the depth with the Tobago-centric. They need to put a focus to the content, so we don't just teach content to our students, but we have a focus where the curriculum is concerned. So you teach the same content, the same concepts, but you utilize tourism as the avenue to teach it. You utilize agriculture as the avenue to teach it. And we have been talking about this forever. I would have met with the secretary, she would have, and gave her my take on it. She would have agreed in part with what I would have submitted. However, I am not seeing where we are working towards enhancing education offering in Tobago in a meaningful way.
Well, the committee that was formed, I think they received their instruments sometime in April, and they in various fields, and they are supposed to eventually present something before we move towards actually making the Tobago-centric curriculum a reality. You don't agree with the approach, that's why that's what you say?
No, I cannot agree with their approach. What would happen is next year's elections. So we're going to be planning and planning and planning and planning and planning. And then it becomes an election topic, and then nothing happens. The teachers can do the work in terms of how they plan their work. Once you give the schools the directive and the support, so persons have said, why don't schools do it on their own? Schools could adopt a team. Let's say the Black Rock government, for example, we look at agriculture and fishery and so on in the teaching of their content. They will need the support. If the division hold the hands of the various schools and bridge that gap between the corporate world and the school, then the support would come. If you leave schools on their own, then it's who could best work with their alumni or their PTA to get the kind of support, and the support isn't really long-lasting. So that's what we have been asking for, and I mean, if you're trying to plan this perfect thing in theory, then we will never get there.
Well, let's say quickly with that. And if people have got the instruments to put together this Tobago-centric education formula, don't tutor be part of that? And where do you fit in, Mr. Bradon?
Well, we were told that we would be in the next phase. I don't know when that next phase would be, but I would try to be optimistic that something would happen and then there will be a next phase as quickly as is possible so that we could give our input, because I have submitted to the Secretary from inception when the Tobago-centric thing came about is something that I am in agreement with, and we are ready to assist. We have never been given that forum to put forward those positions, but we wait for that second phase if it ever comes.
Well, we heard that January to March they're supposed to be doing a pilot project with some child care centers and some schools. So we hope that during that phase or right before that phase, you'll get involved. But we just go with the information that's provided there, and you may be privy to more than us. But anything else to touch on SCA before we move on to contract teachers? Because I know that is a very critical
very
point
important
that you want to bring across.
Well, I'm pleading with the powers that be, and even with the teachers, because we cannot wait on government or on politicians. We need to do the best that we can, but if we don't make a change, because we are seeing what is happening with the crime rates in Tobago, and before we would have blamed persons coming from Trinidad, but we have high levels of delinquency on the island, and it's a matter of time before they are grafted into that manner of life where it makes it uncomfortable for us all. So we all have to really get to the action part of the thing and stop the planning and nothing really coming to reality.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go into contract teachers and the challenges that they have. What is, right, so they would complain to you, Mr. Roberts, you being the representative, union standpoint. What are some of the issues contract teachers are facing?
Right, so the contract teacher situation is something that's taken forever, which is quite unfortunate. I'll just give you some context. The current Secretary of the Division of Education, Research and Technology would have been part of the team, or led the team that took the Division of Education to court on the same topic that I'm discussing here now. The Secretary is in that same position to do the thing that they were fighting for back then. The Assistant Secretary that just vacated that office in the Division of Education, Research and Technology was the Tobago officer fighting for the same thing that I am fighting for now. The Chief Secretary just came out of the same thing that I am fighting for now, and I would have heard him on 2 occasions, one before being Chief Secretary and one while as Chief Secretary, tutor and fight for this thing hard enough. What are we fighting for? We are asking the THA to send a request via cabinet note for an increase in the establishment of our schools. The THA that they are running now. The regulations are such that schools are given a certain number of posts that could be filled. So let's say Signal Hill Secondary School, if they say only 10 teachers are assigned to teach that school, they can only employ 10 persons. If there's a need for an additional 20, the THA has been filling that gap by putting them on contract. Now, when you are on contract, you don't factor in any way when you talk about seniority, being able to be a head of department, a vice principal or a principal. So you could be teaching for 20 years on contract. Your only benefit is a gratuity.
Wow.
So you have no upward movement being on contract. So what you would have is someone coming in 5 years, if they're able to get an in-service position, and would be senior, being able to act in HOD position, vice principal, principal, because those other persons are on contract. So the experience of these persons are not so much being utilized to the best in administrative positions because they are limited. 2 ways it benefits Tobago. If you have the establishment increased and we have them off of contract. The THA wouldn't have to be looking for funds to pay gratuity because the regular salary would suffice until you reach the pension age. The administrative function of our schools would have more experienced persons who would have been able to be in there for how many years with the various subject areas and so on. It's not their fault why they are on contract. That's what the THA offer them because there's a need for these teachers. The argument has been central government would not approve it. So persons have been hesitant in sending forward the request. Hey, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. So we need to put forward a proposal. Now, it's not something where tutor is on the side making noise. I would have done some research. And this is what I'm very disappointed with. I got some data on the schools in Trinidad, the population, how many teachers, how many students, the subject areas. I compared that with Tobago. Tobago would have almost half what the other schools in Trinidad get in terms of their establishment. I made the arguments of the disadvantages to those teachers, and I hand-delivered that to the THA January last year. 18 months now, they created this task force. I want to talk about planning and nothing happening. 18 months now, a task force was created, and we have not been invited to review, get the feedback. I don't know where they are with the submission. And my concern is, at the ending of this year, we're into the political season where we would not get the real attention to this particular thing. So seeing the players involved here know fully well what the contractual situation is. And the effort that is being given towards this thing is appalling. So I'm making the call, and today I will be sending out 3 letters. One to the secretary, one to the chief secretary, one to the chief administrator requesting an urgent meeting to discuss this, because I would really not want this to end up into next year and all the confusion with politics and so on. It's a very serious matter for me and the teachers who are affected. And it should be a very serious matter for the secretary, the chief secretary, and all other persons who know fully well what the plight of the contract teachers are.
What type of contracts the teachers are getting, though? We talking 1-year contracts, we talking 3-year contracts? What type of contracts? Just for some context.
Right, so they are given 3-year contracts now, and which would still be a disadvantage to the teachers who are on contract, as financial institution will only give so much within that limit of a 3-year contract. So it's 3-year contracts, and we know we have been clamoring for outstanding gratuity to be paid. I know the division would have been making some efforts to pay them and so on, but they are outstanding, and they will always be outstanding as they continue signing off on those things at HR level. So we need to really treat with this matter head on. It's something that can be done within a month. It's a request. You just need to justify your request. So I don't know what 18 months this task force took, and we're not able to put forward something to cabinet.
And just before we shift, in terms of the current situation, so is there some schools where the permanent teachers, let's just say they retire and stuff, are there like vacant positions at the school level where these contract workers probably could have filled? Are we seeing like a lot of vacancies?
Yes, so it is happening, but the speed of that, it's not satisfactory in terms of having persons come on the system at a fast enough rate. So yes, they have been seeking avenues to put persons on the establishment, but a large number of our teachers, and Speyside, for example, if they have 54 or so teachers, 26 on the last count I would have had, are on contract. So if it is that we don't need the contract teachers, if that's the argument that the government, the central government would make, if we say to the contract teachers, don't go out, schools can't function.
Exactly.
So you need those teachers. Why are we offering them contract for this prolonged period of time? And it was a short-term measure that they implemented back in '97. And the short-term measure was to cover for work to be done for the establishment to be increased.
Almost
So-
3 decades, right?
Regularization is key.
Yes.
All right, well, let's move on to, Scarborough Secondary School. Obviously, the sword was turned. Big hullabaloo. So far, where are we with the construction of the Scarborough Secondary School? All right, we'll do answer that yet. Then we go for a break. When we come back, we'll get into that. And of course, the disaster that struck Ebenezer Methodist in, what do you call up there again? In the East. All right, we'll come back. When we come back, we continue with Mr. Bradon Roberts. That's his home.
Are you having problems with IBS, burning stomach, acid reflux, bloating, and ulcers? Get effective relief with Kyodophilus Enzyme Plus Probiotics. A lesser known fact is that more than 70% of your immune system is located in your gut. So improve your overall health by addressing it at the source with Kyodophilus Enzyme Plus Probiotics, because a healthy gut is a major step towards better living. Look for it at leading pharmacies and health health stores near you. For more information or to get yourself Kiodophilus Enzyme Plus Probiotics, just call or WhatsApp 728-0338.
Hey, it's you. Come in. Long time I see you. This station pumping. Ready for children party. Mommy! Jay, you can't go nowhere with these children. And you know you can't depend on Kevin neither Steven to see about them. Yeah. Total waste. So I supposed to stay home whole time? Jada is 12. She could see about that. You just leave Jada to see about Kira and Kayla. I thought it's your mother or your sister. Who? Them always busy. Jada could handle that. She cooking and cleaning a long time. And the next two, better know what time it is. It's only me, you know. I will talk to my mother. She just home these days. She will make sure the children okay. Alright. Let me see the moves for later.
Before you ramage, make sure the children okay. Call 996 to report all child abuse now. A message from the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Come on, man. It's not working, isn't it? You probably need a drink. And I think it's time for you to open the tool closet. Suppliers of steel machines that fit any budget. From brush cutters to blowers, lawnmowers to chainsaws, and hedge trimmers too. With impeccable customer service and products, the tool closet is here to serve you. With a large assortment of items from pressure washers to centrifugal pumps, the tool closet has everything from plant foods to even Sun-Grow Pro Mix. Visit us at number 7 Government House Road after Tobago Services, the green building on your left, with the branded still sign.
All right, welcome back, and we continue our conversation with Mr. Bradon Roberts. He's Tutor Tobago officer, and we are right smack in the middle of the Scarborough Secondary School. You remember the sun was turned at Bacalet, and we have not heard anything since, Mr. Bradon Roberts. What's going on with it?
Well, if I could recall correctly, I believe they said by June they were supposed to have further progress made in that plight. I haven't heard anything since as well. However, I support in part the move that was made to identify the land and to have this turn-in and so on, as it signals to central government that we're ready. You know, it's a national initiative as far as I understand, in terms of where the funding and so on should be coming from. It was said that the finance minister committed to funding that project. I haven't heard it directly, but that was reported to us. There are some key things that I'm not certain if it ever took place. The testing of the soil to make sure that the land is fit for purpose. The design of the school, we haven't gotten any feedback that any of those things that were done. However, we continue to monitor and press on the administration to do the needful. And if there's any assistance or there's any further information or further support, tutors are joining advocacy, the Tobago to join in advocacy, we need to be informed so we will know what is expected of us, how we can assist in that plight.
All right, we're going to go to school repair, but I want to bring in Ebenezer Methodist in after Roxborough is Betsy Soap. Right, Betsy Soap is well clear. All right, and we had a roof disruption given the hurricane. Any other school that were affected by Hurricane Beryl?
Well, fortunately, because I don't think Tobago, besides schools, I don't think Tobago could afford a disaster at this time. Fortunately, it's only that one school I would have heard of, and there weren't any major structural damage to any of the other schools. The school repair program as well, I'm not certain if it would be sufficient this time around. We have aging schools, to be fair to the administration. The money that we would take to really address all those issues, the THA don't seem to have at this time. So the advocacy, and that's why I'll always support the Chief Secretary in being bold with his budget presentation. Ask for what you want. We would need the kind of funding to really address our schools. And it's almost the same thing in Trinidad. The schools in Trinidad not getting the kind of attention that they need. But to focus on Tobago, I really hope that whatever needs to be done at Ebenezer is done in a quick manner and in a sustainable manner. I'm not certain what is happening with the material and the kind of labor now. But it seems that the buildings that were built in the past stood up stronger than the things that we are building now. And I'm hoping that our contractors are using the kind of material that will be long-lasting and the wood that is going into our schools. Because we are spending millions every year, and some of the same things seem to be recurring. So that's a concern of mine.
And I'm not sure what is the case with regards to the 7 schools that the Chief Sec listed within the last few hours in terms of cancelling their reopening. Palliative Anglican, Lansumi Methodist, Charlottesville Methodist, Charlottesville SDA Primary, Speyside High School, Speyside Anglican, and Speyside ECCE. So he listed those 7 areas there, but I'm not sure what is taking place. Any update from on your end?
No, and it may have to do with cleaning up and so on, because we know there would have been with the strong winds, and I think on that side of the island, they would have been affected in a more severe manner than the rest of the island. So it may have to do with cleanup works, but I have not heard anything specific to any of those schools just yet.
Okay, and he went on further to say that Palliative to Lansumi still have challenges with telecommunications, and so these 3 communities were unable to properly communicate with TIMA. But coming back to the budget, in the budget presentation, you're giving kudos to the Chief Sec for his presentation, specifically treating with education and the plans for education in the next fiscal. That's what you're saying?
In terms of the quantum.
Okay.
Ask what you want. The budget, though, I do not agree with having things in the budget that there is no action towards making it a reality until the next budget comes. So I know the last budget we had, there were several things listed in that budget where education is concerned. I'm not certain if the excuse would be that they were stymied by what they were actually given. But we need to make some advancements in education, or we're going to continue complaining about the same things we've been complaining about over the past 10, 15, 20 years. So in terms of the quantum, yes, we need to be bold, and as Tobago, I do not subject to us just being limited by what Trinidad is willing to give to us. We have to keep pushing the envelope. So in that regard, I have full support.
All right. The regular maintenance of school or upgrade or whatever needs to be done during this 2 months vacation. We don't want to come September morning and you come complaining. Mr. Roberts, I'm asking, what is in place to ensure that the school repair program is up and running starting next week when school closes finally?
Well, the ball is in the court of the Division of Education. We would have done our work as well. We sent out a Google form and got information from several of our schools that was submitted to the administrator and the officer at the project implementation unit. The first time I submitted it, they said that they did not see it. I submitted it again. They should have known the gravity of the works even outside of what tutor submitted, but I made sure to get the information and submit, so they should never see that they got the information late. Based on what I'm seeing or not seeing, it's likely to be a similar pattern.
Wow.
I would like to be pleasantly surprised for once that we are ahead and we don't have this last week or the second to last week of school trying to rush things in, because our cleaners have to clean. And I know last repair program, some of the teachers had to do some of the cleanup because they really want to get school in our order and so on. That's not the function of our teachers. So let us give the cleaners a fair chance to do the work that they need to do, and we need to finish the work in advance so that you could spot things that you did not see that may be critical early enough to really work on them.
Contracts for these school maintenance program, right? Are there, well, I know works, I always go back to works being the first go-to assist in treating. Let's talk about the contractors as opposed to government workers who are responsible for maintenance in school and so on. In works department, electricians, you name it. Is that still ongoing, or is it that is designated only to contractors to ensure the school equipments are up and running?
Well, I would like to bring us back to the submission by the secretary, I believe it's a year or so ago, where there was a talk of an artisan team. Now, tutor have been submitting for a few years now, that we need to have a partnership with the same works that you're referencing, so that we can have periodical checks as to what is happening in the school, so we could do some stopgap measures before it gets out of hand. However, I don't know what the structure or why it has to be just contract-based. In the main, it is contracts, but they still have, to some extent, where works will come and give some assistance with the lighting and so on. But the major works, it has been contracts. And I believe last time they used ID cut, I believe they may be doing the same thing this time around. The concern would be funding and the timely commencement of the program.
All right. Well, I mean, we continue to monitor the timeliness because we really don't want to come in September and hearing a number of concerns, but we also should be aware of some of the drawbacks that is beyond certain leadership, certain members of in leadership positions control. But before we wrap, in terms of your wish list, I mean, the Chief Sec would have presented the budget proposal, but in terms of your wish list, and when I say you, I'm speaking to tutors' wish list heading into fiscal 2024-2025.
Right. So first of all, the digitizing of the Division of Education. That has been a submission for some years as well. We still very paper-based, so the submissions of misplaced files, misplaced pay record cards where persons not able to get their just due because they can't find your file. That should be a thing of the past. Those things would have been budgeted for some time as well. So I'm really hoping that we could have that addressed. We are also talking about technology. Tutor is a part of the division working on the online learning policy. There is some framework already done. We're supposed to be working towards a pilot to have a testing of what we would have initially planned. I'm not seeing where the start would be based on what the resources are allocated. So you see those things where we're talking about technology and digitizing and so on, we have to put our money where our mouth is. And if we're not getting any money, Tutor is willing to back the THA and we're supporting in having central government send the needful, because we can't always be asking for things and not getting anything that will give Tobago a chance for development.
But where would Tutor, from the national standpoint, the national body, stand in terms of communication with central government? Because if the Division of Education deals with Tobago education and you would represent the Tobago arm, where does the national body, Tutor, fit in terms of communicating to probably go directly to central government to speak to some of the Tobago issues, or would that be overstepping?
Well, thankfully, the structure allows me to be at those meetings. So I would be in the meetings with the CPO, with the minister, with ministry. So the Tobago perspective is definitely there throughout. With the reporting structure, the president is on top of what is happening in Tobago as well. So he is in full understanding as to how we can also advocate on behalf of Tobago when we are at those sittings. We have also worked with the THA in having a request sent for the leave classification that we have been quarreling about that takes years in Trinidad to be given to Tobago to do. The THA would have done the needful in sending that request. Thankful for the work of the chief administrator, and having that done. And I know that the secretary has some conversation with the minister as well on it, and Tutor is doing the follow-up at the level of the CPU and the ministry to ensure that we get the attention on it. So there is that collaboration at times.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All right, so in closing, your appeal to the Division of Education to ensure that this year, we don't want you to come here September morning and saying, hey, still issues of repair to the schools. So make your appeal.
Well, firstly, the purpose of my advocacy is for enhancement. And the division needs to give the teachers the best opportunity to enhance education, not just the buildings. But we have to start with something. If we don't have the infrastructure to make things happen, we are not going to get the best of our students. So we have makeshift measures being done in some of the schools to get education going. That would not be the gold standard. And if we are talking about the enhancement and fixing things and so on, we need to at least step by step have things done. So I'm asking that the secretary and her team, they put things in place that the repair program starts early enough. So should they see additional things, we are able to address them. The issues affecting the teachers in terms of the increments, the gratuity, the upgrade and so on. If you have persons with issues at the division, how do we call on them to give up their best when they're at school, when they have these issues with their family, with their finances, the economic stuff all around, you know. So we need to assist each other. So my advocacy is for improvement and is to work with the division. When they're not responding, then I have to come out here and put the pressure where the pressure is.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Bradon Roberts, we want to thank you very much. And yeah, you're a true fighter, true warrior. All right, keep up that spirit. Of course, at this point in time, we go for a break. When we come back, lots more. Thank you again.
Know your rights and learn how the law protects you.
The message said, double your money fast.